get going to honor your guys' time. So let's get into, I'll do our short code of values or code of values statement. We live our code of values by showing respect for all people, acting with integrity in all dealings, serving customers with enthusiasm, and having fun in the process. Awesome. All right. Let's see. So I had a meeting with, what I've been trying to do is to time our meetings shortly after I meet with Mary Thompson, Mark Liston, Craig Jeltson, and Lori Johnson, just more about other neighborly CareerPlug related type initiatives to see if there's anything that they want me to share with you guys or kind of what's going on. So just had that meeting the other day. So a few things we just sort of talked about, and you may be doing this within your brands, but as we kind of get into the fourth quarter, it's probably a good idea to revisit your brand goals, maybe with your VP or at one of your, if you have FBC meetings or whatever with your team, just to kind of look at where you're at with your goals. I don't have a list of all those goals, so I don't know the progress and things on that. I send out, you guys should get every week, whenever I get the series of reports that CareerPlug puts out, I usually forward those on. We used to get a report that had all of the ghost account information, because it's one of the things I guess it's a continuous update of for those people that have never logged into their basic account, they have what's called a ghost account. So kind of one of those objectives that each of the brands has is how do we, kind of get everybody to at least log in. But I've looked in the last several weeks, I've not seen that detailed report. And so I'm gonna have to try to get that because I thought there's a report that we can also create out of CareerPlug, the activity report that I thought used to show the ghost accounts. But I've not seen that for a while. So I'll see if I can get a hold of that. I don't know if anybody, Jeff or anybody else on the call, if you have seen that report lately or if you know what I'm talking about.
I thought it was on the last one, but honestly, I go through it. We don't have too many in handy, so I don't bother with them too much.
Yeah, I pulled the ones that they've been sending, and it doesn't show. It used to show who's on the basic, who's on the pro, and then who's a ghost. What I've seen is the report show who's on the pro and the basic, but anyway, long story, I'll work on getting that because I want to, it's hard for you guys to update that if you don't know what's what. The other thing that Mary would like to see us really kind of continue to help with is getting people to utilize the HR onboarding module and to use the paperless onboarding as well as the texting feature. I think at Glass Doctor we've got a few people that are using texting, not a ton of people. That report is included, I think, that we get every week that shows the people that are using texting. Does anybody on the call have any franchisees or any success stories with texting or know of anybody that's using texting successfully?
I'll speak that we only have one or two people who've just started to use it. This is Jeff from Mr. Handyman. We do not have any feedback yet because we are discussing it with our owners. We are pushing them towards it. Unfortunately, there's so much else going on right now with our franchising, and the search for text is not the top priority. Okay. As far as that goes, it will become it again in December. Okay. So we'll start to revisit that with the texting, but that's the onboarding for us, Eric, is not something that fits well because of the amount of a little bit that we could use it for right now, right? For our team. So we're going to focus on the texting ourselves.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think with the onboarding, I know a lot of franchisees work with payroll companies like ADP that already has kind of an onboarding function. And it's honestly, if they have that, it's kind of hard to sell them on using the CareerPlug onboarding as well. Kind of like a duplicate thing.
Hey, Eric, I can speak to that a little bit too. Yes, Mara from Molly Maid. Hey, so to Jeff's point as well, is the onboarding in CareerPlug doesn't quite match up with what we're looking for with Molly Maid. So that's where we've run into some stumbling blocks and some pushback. Plus, the major program that would help, I think, would be the WOTC program. However, it costs more with CareerPlug than it does with ADP. or to use CareerPlug's program for WOTC.
Okay.
So, we do have an issue kind of there. Now, as far as the texting feature goes, we don't have a lot of people using it either. The ones that are using it do like it, do say that texting is a necessary function of reaching out to their applicants.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the case no matter who they're using to text, because a lot of people have outside companies that they've just bought to use their texting programs.
Okay.
So they do say that texting is a #1 way to get responses back, because people typically will text versus listen to a voicemail.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's one of the things, Mary kind of sees as a clear way to get people is the texting. And so part of it could be just education. One of the things that Craig Jeltsin brought up was if we had like an FBC, almost like a coach's training on how do you actually coach your franchisees through different aspects of CareerPlug. And I think there's an upcoming quarterly training with CareerPlug, and I know texting will be part of that. I think it's actually next week, yeah, I think it's the 19th or something, like the 17th and 19th or something. So all of you, did everybody get that invitation? I think
I don't actually remember seeing that.
Okay.
I have a training invitation on the 18th, 1 o'clock Mountain Time.
Yeah, that's probably right. Let me see if I can find it.
Just because I didn't see it doesn't mean it didn't happen. I'll tell you
that.
There's a Q3 CareerPlug training also on the 17th in the morning.
Okay, I'm just going to forward this to you guys right now.
Do you guys remember seeing in one of the presentations from CareerPlug, there's a slide that they've got about how people respond 7 times faster to text than they do to emails? So that's kind of something I've just put out into reports, my weekly report that I've sent, and just said, hey, here's a statistic. That's pretty telling.
I think it's 4.5 times, right? Or was it 7?
Something that was a lot faster.
Yeah, it's a lot faster.
Voicemail.
Yeah, and I don't know that I have that. We've got a folder under the G Drive. Let me get out of my presentation here real quick. Sorry, I got like 3 monitors and I never can figure out how to move one screen to the next. Okay. So can you guys see my files here?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I think it's on the
porn. Can you switch screens for me?
What's that? What's that?
I said I only see the porn. Can you switch?
Gotcha. Okay. All right. I'm glad I'm recording this. That's great. So this might be my last CareerPlug meeting, guys. So we'll see. You can take over for me, Jeff, if they escort me off the property.
Listen, having fun in the process, whoever's listening to this. How about that?
That's great. Okay.
While you're looking for that,
yes,
I just want to tell you guys too. So before in Indeed, when a candidate would go to apply to their Indeed ad, there would be a permission that would pop up that says, do you agree to proceed with texting? Okay. Now CareerPlug has changed that so that by default you can text. So they'd actually have to opt out of texting.
Oh, okay.
So that's kind of cool too. So. Okay,
that's cool. Well, I think eventually CareerPlug is going to make the texting is just going to be all wrapped into one price, and that users won't have a choice but to be on texting as well. I don't know if that's next year. That may be a goal for 2020. I'm not sure. Okay, so anyway, everybody should have access to the public drive. I know we had some people on the call that weren't, that months ago got set up, I think. So if you're having trouble getting on the public drive, let me know and I'll see if we can get you set up. But anyway, on the public drive, there's a CareerPlug folder here. And then there are different things. So these are training snippets that we did, over a year ago. There's these presentations that some brands are using. This is kind of just a repository. We've just said if anybody on the call has materials that you're using for regional meetings, reunion, whatever that's CareerPlug related, feel free if you want to just drop it in here. then we can kind of share that with each other just to give each other some ideas. I don't know that what you're asking, Mara, if it's on one of these. I'm trying to think if, like this might have been one I included it. Can't remember.
Did they present to us at the FC Summit? Because it would have been probably in one of those presentations.
Yeah, I think they did. Also, okay, on the email I sent you guys with the, let me pull my email up. So these were the FC trainings that CareerPlug had done. So probably on one of these links, Mara, would be the presentation you're talking about. I just don't know which one.
Yeah, no worries.
So it's probably in there somewhere. Let me see if I've got any.
Now, in the, hey, Eric, in the just the basic and pro.
Oh, here it is.
Just to comparing the differences, it does just say text candidates for faster responses. It doesn't say 7x or 4x or anything along those lines.
Okay. Yeah, it was one of the
I'll send it to you, Eric. I just found it.
Okay, cool. All right. Let's see. Oh, here we go. Okay. Yeah, this was a pretty cool one because it had some neat metrics in here, just some calculations that I've used with some other training. Some of this, I think, I don't know, might be above some people's heads, but it was more the concept of looking at our efficiency to hiring, how effective we are, and then the texting is probably down here. Yeah, here we go. So text messages are 4.9 times more likely to be opened than email. Oh, they get 7.5 times the responses is probably what you're talking about. That's cool. And they're responded to 60 times faster than emails. This is a pretty powerful thing. I can email this out to everybody. Just forwarded it. Actually, let me go ahead and save that in that file while I'm thinking about it.
So, Eric, is there any more going into the rare toolbox other than CareerPlug? I know Mary mentioned some marketing stuff that was going to be happening around recruiting. Just curious.
Yeah, so Bullish is working on a project to kind of help us market to the right candidates. It's possible in another year they'll do a benchmarking project for us, but I'm not sure when that's going to happen. So I'm looking at doing an internal benchmarking with CareerPlug for GlassDoctor. I'm just trying to get some franchisees to agree to it.
What kind of benchmarking? What are you trying to mark?
So basically what I'm looking at, so for us, one of the key positions is a flat glass technician. And so what I need is 8 to 10 flat glass technicians that are rock stars in our network. And they would basically take the assessment that we currently have for GlassDoctor in CareerPlug. And then from that, CareerPlug basically averages their scores, and then we'll have a profile so that now when a franchisee goes to interview a flat glass technician and they give them the assessment, they'll be able to have a side-by-side comparison of that benchmark of our 8 to 10 rock star flat glass technicians and their current candidate.
Okay, that concerns me, 8 to 10. I don't know if that's a sampling size that we'd be able to use.
That's just a number. They told me that I think they needed at least that many. I mean, I guess you could do more.
Yeah, I understand from a statistical aspect, you know, what you can get out of it. I'm just concerned because you've been around for a long time. So have I. as we talk to owners, there are different personality traits that make up each of the different, what is considered a rock star.
Sure.
You know, that's why that benchmarking stuff has always concerned me as far as that goes. And I've looked at some of their assessment stuff, and it doesn't work for us. It's, you know, I understand in a white collar executive C-suite world how those things may be able to do it. I just don't know that you can pull out those intangibles from somebody who is a skilled worker the same way. And I've been around skilled workers for 40 years.
Yeah, and so this is not going to be a perfect thing. And there's another reason that the other thing I'm not as big a fan on is, so it's all based on, I'm just pulling up obviously CareerPlug in here. So it's also based on, these were the assessment categories we selected. And I mean, I'm not an expert at assessments, you know, so we've kind of said, okay, here's the 5 categories. This is another thing that's kind of a flaw in this benchmarking, the way we're doing it, but it's better than nothing, I guess, than what we don't have anything. And so I think what Bullish is going to be able to do is, again, it's kind of far down the road, but I think is going to, I'm hopeful, is going to be a much more robust methodology for creating those benchmarks. You know, so I'm just going to try this out, and just to kind of see what, I don't have a lot of our franchisees using the assessment tool. So I'm kind of also hoping this will at least get them to interact with a little bit more. So I'll let you guys know what kind of results we get and if it's effective. But yeah, I've got concerns too. So I think those are valid points, Jeff.
Yeah, no, and I'd love to see what you come up with. I mean, if there is a way to, you know, better narrow down who will be somebody who sticks, then absolutely, I'm all for it.
Right. Okay. Well, cool. Well, one of the things, I know our last meeting we had was right up against reunion. So we had a lot of people not on the call, and we had some new people. I think Travis was first time on the call at that point. Emily, we had Marcus Holmes from Grounds Guys, who's traveling today, so he's not on the call. Andy Pittman's traveling today too. He's not new, but he's traveling. And so one of the things that we had talked about was starting to do some training, and the concept of onboarding was a topic that we were going to do on the last call. But since we really didn't have as many of you on the call, and I had some new people, we spent most of the time just sort of welcoming the people that were new to the call, answering some questions, having a general dialogue. And so I did save some of the training material, so to speak, or for our conversation around onboarding. So I've got some stuff here that we can use, we can talk through. And I've got some references. I've got some articles that I got through Harvard Business Review's website on the topic. I can send all the PDFs and the presentation to you guys. But if there's something else that other people have on the agenda we want to cover, or questions, we can cover that now, and then we can get into onboarding. So anything else that you guys wanted to cover today, or questions, comments, anything of that before I get into the onboarding portion?
Eric, this probably isn't the appropriate time. We could do it at the end. I have a problem.
Okay.
Request,
sure.
Request. And also, I guess I'll be brief, a solution for trying to get adoption going in real property management. So if you'd like me to wait till the end of our meeting, I'm happy to do that. I don't want to foul up your flow.
No, we can do that. We can start with that now. I think and I think this was probably Jeff's suggestion way back, was, for us to also kind of share ideas that can help beyond just CareerPlug, but some of the other recruiting concepts, and just sort of talking through them. So this will be, onboarding is one thing. These will be ongoing conversations. So I'd rather make sure we cover what you need, what your issues are and stuff like that. And let's get that done. And then we can use the rest of our time to talk about onboarding.
Okay. I'll start with the easy one first. At Reunion, we had invited some of the key franchises, I think from all of the brands. Certainly we had one to do short video snippets there. Is there any chance we could get copies or be able to review those? The reason I ask is we have a pretty credible couple of franchisees that did ours. It'd be a huge help to be able to showcase that during webinars or any other regionals that we may have. Is that possible?
Yeah, so was this something, because I know we had like, there was some CareerPlug testimonial type videos. Was this a separate, was this something separate, or was that what you're talking about?
It's what I was talking about. We invited people and then assigned them a different time on a shared document spreadsheet.
Yeah, let me ask Craig. In fact, I'll just email Craig real quick because he might get back to me while we're on the call, and then I can just tell you by the end of the call.
Franchise love hearing from other franchises. A lot of credibility there.
Yeah, let me see if Craig sent me. I don't think he sent me anything yet, for sure.
While you're looking for that, Eric, I would put this out to the group. Anybody can respond to me if they have any information on this. I have one large franchise that was on CareerPlug Pro, and they were struggling with, for whatever reason, applicants would send back a response, an email response, and they weren't always getting them for one reason or another. I wasn't on the receiving end of it, so I can't describe it completely. They did involve CareerPlug's support staff, which was really helpful, but they never really got to the bottom of it on that. And it really was only one of our number of franchisees that had this struggle. I guess I'd put out to the group, has anybody had anything like that happen in their groups, where one franchise, they'd send out a response to an applicant, the applicant would respond back, and it never, one way or another, it never got where it was supposed to go?
I haven't heard of that.
Yeah, it's only one of our franchises, and so it seems like something unique to their system. And finally, I'll just be real quick here. We have regionals coming up for real property management across the country, and they'll be starting here in the next week and a half. One of the approaches we're taking to this is a little bit of a backdoor. So I would welcome any constructive criticism that the group might have. Staffing is an issue, and there is a reason that we want to staff up, and we're attacking it with customer satisfaction and customer service. Okay. We do customer service and satisfaction scores twice a year, and some franchises do very well, some don't. And we're trying to attack that with staffing. Well, how do you, once you agree that you have a staffing issue, what's some tools you might want to use? We got a good one for you. And so we're kind of coming about it that way instead of, adopt CareerPlug right off the bat. It is a good tool, a good idea, but I don't want to start with a solution. I want to have them work themselves into the solution from, I guess, their problem point of view, if that makes any sense. So that's just something we're going, and I would welcome comments, criticism, suggestion from the group. So
Dee, am I understanding you correctly that you're trying to use reputation management as a way for them to use CareerPlug more?
Not necessarily reputation with customers. That could be part of it, though. There's no doubt about it. Our regionals are including the online results or online reputation management, as well as satisfaction from our existing customers. We have 2 customers in our group with property management. We have owners that own these properties. We also have tenants that occupy the properties. So there's satisfaction ratings for each of those, in addition to outside satisfaction. So to improve satisfaction, and much of ours, I don't know if many of the other brands do it, but much of ours, it's always communication. And when you dig into it, you find out that I didn't have time to answer that call. I didn't have time to get back to them in 24 hours, et cetera, et cetera. It's traditionally a communication, which can be staffing, training, all sorts of things like that. So we're going to kind of back ourselves into it through trying to improve all those areas.
So I'll say this is Jeff from Mr. Handyman, and I not to take up too much time. So if you want to hook up offline, Dee, I have no problem putting a call together. But many years ago, about 5 or 6 years ago, we realized that our culture needed to be changed for us to be able to attract the best candidates. So we started working internally with the culture, and that included, of course, communication, but of our brands and of our owners, so that they could buy into that culture of being the premium home services company. And what we've transitioned to now is having our technicians out there talking about us, you know, going on Glassdoor.com, leaving a review about how great it is to work here, so that when other potential candidates see that, they will see what the good and bad really is. Just like our owners like to see from other owners, employees like to hear from real employees. So when you can get some of that, it's kind of a transition from, hey, we beat you up for years to make your world better. We've now introduced what we call the Mr. Handyman Way, which is a 13-step, this is what your technicians do, point to point. We've always had it. We more formalized it, and we made it much more customer experience focused. We've also created the Mr. Handyman Way office, which again was already there, but this is more about pointing out that these items need to be done every single.
Jeff, did we lose you? Are you still talking? Because I can't hear you now for some reason.
Sounds like we did.
I think that's a great angle on it to enhance, you know, get your own. We got customers. They are our employees, could be considered customers too, to a degree. Might as well get their input. You know, the Glassdoor reviews, a lot of folks on the job hunt will look at those. So I think that's a great point.
Yeah, I know some of our franchisees now, some of them are just starting to really get into Instagram, which obviously, they're not doing videos there, but they're showcasing different technicians with some background, some feedback. I could definitely see having some video testimonials from from some of the employees and using that on your social platforms. Could be another way. Definitely, I think the Glassdoor reviews are good. I think there's a lot of things like this that, if we had franchisees really utilizing all these things, they would be just incredibly killing it with with getting people. But so I think it's good. I know Marcus from Grounds Guys is not on the phone, but one of the things they're doing is they're going to do a 4-hour session at their regionals on CareerPlug and recruiting. So I told him as he puts it together, obviously we can help him with it, but I wanted to see if he could share with us whatever they ultimately come up with and the feedback they get, because 4 hours of curriculum is going to be pretty extensive, and probably it could be stuff that we could pull bits and pieces from and help us out as we go out and do regionals or webinars. It's been a while since I've done any webinars. I don't even think I've done one since I've been a Glass Doctor. So that's probably something I need to look back at as well. So, but yeah, I love that approach that you're talking about, Dee. I wish we can get Jeff on. I don't know what happened with the mic there. He might have to call back in because I see he's not on our list anymore. So, okay, well, cool. Well, if he gets back on, we can jump back into that. But was that helpful, Dee, or did any other thoughts or comments on that?
Yeah, I think it was helpful. We miss a key component. I've always felt that way. I don't know why it didn't occur to us to include that. We're talking about our owners and our customers, tenants, and even our non-customers who would give us reviews online through interacting with our staff. Why not include the employees? To your, what is it? The top line there, feeling socially accepted. Mm-hmm. Second line there. Yeah. That couldn't be more correct.
Yeah, I think that a lot of the material I looked at and a lot of my background was in training and development in human resources, either as a consultant or in companies. And I definitely can relate to especially the first one. I would think the number's much higher that first, that experience that employees have is really a key determining factor if they're going to stick around. And especially in the beginning, because they have zero loyalty because they're new. I mean, they don't, they're new. It's a new experience. There's a lot they're getting adjusted to. And so, like I said, I've got a lot of content here, but I always want to make these like a conversation interactive. So as we go through, if there's, experiences that you guys have, that'll enrich the conversation, and that. So, but yeah, I think the socially accepted part, also relates to, involving various people on the team as you have a new person. So something we've done at Glass Docking. We just brought in a new FPC, and so we kind of had formal meetings with him to kind of help him just get to know us, and did a luncheon and things like that. But every week we also try to kind of like encourage the other FBCs, if we've got a coaching call with somebody, invite the new guy onto the call if he's available. So we've been trying to kind of perpetuate that. And I don't know. I think it's easy when our franchisees bring people in to not see the value in that. I don't know what your guys' experiences are with, if you've got franchisees that are really have a pretty good onboarding process, or if you feel like that's by and large lacking.
Speaking with the franchises I work with, they don't have a very structured onboarding process, especially if that person has experience. They throw them in a truck pretty quick, and some of our key differentiators, the SWAT program, and that they really don't take much time to train them on that, what makes us different.
Right.
And it's a long learning curve to bring them up to speed to deliver the type of service that we need.
Well, that's a great point, Paul. And one of the things that we did here at Glass Doctor, we had every other week we do a weekly excellence webinar, and so we did one on pricing. And one of the points you made, Paul, that I thought was really good, is that a lot of times, because it's up to our technicians to sell the work, and they discount stuff all the time. If they're people who have not been onboarded well and don't really understand the value that we're trying to deliver in the marketplace. Whereas the franchisees that do a good job of instilling that into their technicians they get better margins. So no shock, they're the more profitable franchisees, and that's a key component. I'm curious with your all's brands, from the onboarding, the setup. I mean, from the very beginning is the time to kind of start instilling what are those values, what is it, what's the value that we're trying to create in the marketplace, because they're the people that are the face of our franchise. And so there's kind of 3 dimensions on one of these articles that I wanted to share with you guys and get your feedback. And, the first relates to just how things work. And that's not always I think the technical part, there's training in that, and some do better than others. But there's also just a lot of unspoken expectations and that culture that's sort of hard to pin down in a company. Just how do things work here, and looking at that, and then helping that person assimilate into that process. One of the other assumptions that was in here was, when we hire people who have experience, oftentimes we make the assumption that, hey, they've got it all figured out, and oftentimes those people aren't asking many questions because they feel the expectation is that they should just figure things out. So do any of you have, and this could be experiences you've had maybe somewhere else you worked, or in your current position, or with the franchisee. So it doesn't have to be just with the franchisee, but do you have some experiences anybody want to share about, something you found that worked, that was a good experience, bad experience, that relates to this idea of just this first dimension of trying to onboard people related more to just the organization, how things work in the company?
Sure. It's Mara from Molly Maid. A couple of things to think about, I think, are who is doing this initial onboarding. So is it the owner? Is it your GM? I think it's important for the owner to at least be involved in a piece of this, because ultimately that's the person who gets to set the expectations and show the culture of the business. And it's important to show who you are as a company and what you're all about, because that's one of those things that millennials really care about, is the aspect of what's surrounding them, right? Mm-hmm. And so I think that's important, is who is doing the onboarding, what kind of expectations are they setting? So that would be the first piece. And then the second piece of that is making sure the onboarding day itself, like that first day, is actually a significant amount of hours. Because oftentimes people are leaving their old jobs because they're not getting enough hours. And it kind of occurs to me, okay, if we keep them here for 45 minutes and then send them home for the day, what are they thinking about how much money they're going to make for the whole rest of their tenure with you?
No, that's a great point. I think that reminds me, I think there's a lot of these little things that don't seem important, like that people aren't necessarily going to think on their own. Like I wouldn't necessarily have thought that on my own. So I think that those are little things that can make a huge impact on that person that's starting, like you're describing.
Yeah, this is their first time that they're meeting you. And that's actually part of why I think the online or onboarding isn't really a good fit for us necessarily. I hate to say that, but because you're onboarding face-to-face gives you a chance to make a connection, a human-to-human connection with your new employee.
Well, I think with the way that I look at that, that's a good distinction, because I think the way that I look at the CareerPlug onboarding is there's obviously some of the paperless component to some forms, but there's also some checklists that can get into what we're talking about that are about that face-to-face. So, a nice management checklist or manager checklist or whatever, that here are the things to take this person through. Here's who you want to introduce this person to. Here's how you want that first day, first week, not only with what they're going to be doing, who they're talking to,
That's
but
true.
follow-ups and like follow-up meetings. And, by the end of the week that the owner meets with them, and, at the end of the day, the man, whatever your cadence is.
That's a really good point. Does anybody have a list that they currently utilize for something like that? Because we definitely don't. Like a first day checklist.
So we kind of do when we created our Mr. Handyman Way and the office procedures. Yeah. For the technician, we do have some onboarding processes. We've been trying to get our guys to do at least 3 to 5 days. A lot of ours do 1 day. We've got most of ours up to at least 2 days of onboarding, which we think is important.
Jeff, are you counting training as onboarding?
Well, yeah, because most of our owners do is they bring them in to do some paperwork, and then they get them out in the field with one of their lead techs or qualified techs. Then they get them back in the office, do some more training, make sure they can sit with the CSR for a half a day, see what their world is like, communication, going over things.
Mm-hmm.
So take them out shopping because they need to go to Home Depot. Do they know their way around? Do they understand what they're looking for? Those are all ways where you can get in that first week a good feel for the person, their personality, their real abilities, and then you can get feedback from your other techs. So that's kind of where we push them. From an office standpoint, we have our office way where it's like, hey, look, use this to make sure that you haven't missed anything that this person needs to know, right? They need to know about AR. Even if they aren't handling it, here's who handles it, right? Joni handles AR. So if you have any AR questions, go to Joni. Check.
Right.
We handled AR with them. And so that allows them. So when we were setting that up, Brian did most of the work, but when we were setting that up, it was so that they could take this sheet and decide, I haven't taught you about this yet, or we'll leave this till later. It's not as formalized as we may want it, because each owner kind of changes and does what they want. And again, you know what? When you're looking at a booked schedule, you're going to get them out in the field faster, right? You got a glove, go out to second base. That's good. I need a second baseman. don't care that you're an outfielder. Go out to second base. You got a glove. So that's what we're trying to avoid, because we do know that we can't retain as long. So we tie it back to the fact that, hey, onboarding, and we just did this at our convention, and we're doing it again at our regional in March. Onboarding is an essential part of retention. If you do not onboard your people properly, it is much, much harder to retain them for any length of time. So that's kind of where we've been focusing a little bit, if that helps.
Mm-hmm. Totally agree.
Hey, I offer my little 2 cents. I kind of think there's 2 parts. I have to echo, Mara, what you're saying. In prior careers, we've called it a number of different things. I'm used to orientation, which is different than training. Generally, an orientation would be your perfect opportunity. Like, I can't remember who said it, where you show an employee how things work around here. When is payday? Work hours. How do you deal with sick days? How do you deal with this? PTO?
Where do you park?
And you would go through a brief outline of maybe your employee manual, which every office should really have. I was just looking in our library here. We had an orientation checklist. It is a little dated. It's not very extensive. They don't need to be that super extensive, really, because I think, as Mara, as you mentioned, it's an Eric face-to-face. Get the relationship going, meet some people, and make them feel part of the team. Real important, way different than training. So, and I think we do hurry that too much. I've been guilty of it myself years ago when hiring. So we could do better at putting together maybe a bit of a skeleton of an orientation package, or encourage franchisees to develop their own. And it doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to be a 20, 30 page document. This thing can be a real good checklist.
I think along the line with that checklist, get into this next topic, which is defining what good looks like, so that people are it's really clear on what does success look like here. One of the topics that came up in this article that I wanted your take on is setting up early wins. I'm curious what that looks like. I was having some trouble figuring out for us, like what helping somebody set up an early win. I mean, I was thinking about it from I guess maybe if I had an experienced technician and I'm able to, in that first week, send them out on a project that I feel like they could probably do really well at and really celebrating that. I don't know if that's what that means exactly, or if anybody has any thoughts just on this concept of helping these employees create early wins as they're getting started with the company.
We have a position in the office called the quality check or quality manager, and they go out and they check our cleans to make sure that the maids did the clean the right way and the house looks great. So that would be something I think would be an early win, is within the first week of that new employee being on their own and completing a project on their own, whether it's a quality manager or I don't know if you guys have a similar position. So the owner going out and checking and saying, yeah, you know what, you did do a really good job on that. You get a star on the board, or something like that. Because we do cheesy things like stars on boards, but
people like
announcing to the rest of the team, good job, and telling the rest of the group, hey, this new person did a good job.
Yeah.
So public recognition.
That's a good place we could use the NPS score feedback from customers. Once they get, that's maybe beyond onboarding. You're probably not going to get your own NPS score where the customer mentions you if you're not doing the job yourself. But as an ISR, the first sold job you do, or the first job you get on the schedule, things like that would be an early win.
Eric, I just quickly shared with you what we put out there. You could share with the rest of the SMEs.
Okay.
It's when we sit our technicians now down, or even our CSRs, and if you want to open it, you can look at it real quickly, but this goes through who we are, what the expectations are. It's something that David Powers worked on and put together, but it's really kind of going through so that they know who we are, what Neighborly is, how we got there, what the customer is. So this is kind of what we're using now to put our technicians in front of, so that they will understand who we are. So you feel free to share that with the rest of the group.
Okay. All right, cool. I saved it in our drive. I'll email this as well. This was great.
And we set it up so that they can, it's not only the 13 steps, but so they can put in their own information. Here's who we are. Here's our hours of operations. Here's what we expect.
Oh, that's really cool.
And we also have the posters that go along with it. We've created, and I'm sure Mara's seen them because they're all over the place, but the Mr. Handyman Way poster, all of our owners have embraced it. At least the owners I've been to, they've embraced it. They put it up on their walls. They point to it. They discuss it at their meetings. The office way is something that we're really starting to roll out now as well. But it's something that ties into this. Here's your introduction. So we're telling them from day one, the expectation is, here's what we expect. And guess what? We're checking up on it constantly. We're going to constantly remind you about it. So they already know what's coming. They know at the meeting, we're going to pick step 4. Hey, are we doing this properly? Right? Is everybody out there doing this? Are you all talking to the customer about potential future work or staying longer that day? Those types of things. And this will help tie in to that whole thing. So as I think somebody mentioned before, that cohesiveness of being able to take cradle to grave type of a thing. That's what we're looking to do. Not necessarily grave. I know you're recording this. I keep getting myself in trouble.
It's okay. Hey, fun in the process, man. So that's good. Learning is always better when it's fun. Cool. I'll share that document, and I did upload it to the P drive, so that's pretty cool. I'm gonna really look at that. The third, I guess, dimension relates to social and building a sense of community. And one of the tips in this article I thought was pretty helpful was kind of in advance, preparing for this person to start in the company, is to identify all the key people that they're going to contribute to. And that can be internal employees, it can be vendors, it can be customers, to kind of help that employee see, here are the people that the work you're doing is going to impact. And here's how we see that impacting those people, so that there's a very direct relationship between what work that person is doing and how that's actually not only helping those individual stakeholders, but how that's going to help the company get where we want to go. So I thought that was a pretty helpful tip. I don't know, when you think about building a sense of community, I know, Mara, you had mentioned, the stars and things like that with those wins. Anything else that anyone does to build a sense of community, or that any of your franchisees do?
I'll say that and I know that Neighborly does a little different day of service. Our owners have chosen various days. A lot of it was 9/11 when we first started it, or in and around 9/11. And that has really helped, I know, to build some teams. I've spent the past couple of years visiting with my owners on that day and helping out also, and I can see how they all feel better about doing those things. So we're kind of asking our owners to, remember that during the rest of the year too. It doesn't necessarily have to be a full-blown project for a veteran, but getting the guys together, for an afternoon to, fix up a playground, or to do something that can kind of put them not only working together, but feeling good about what they're contributing to the community, I think is the type of thing that when you talk about a social community, and, we don't necessarily hire the millennials yet. We're not quite there because of the amount of experience that our guys need. With 10 plus years, they're not quite millennials. So although we are getting to that, I think that sense of giving back makes people feel much better.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that that's great to have those kind of projects. Anybody else do anything like that, something like that, or just other ways to build a sense of community?
Yeah, Eric, this is Travis from Window Genie. Going back to just our top franchisees, their turnover is, I'd say they have 5 to 7 years of employees for 5 to 7 years. Your newer franchisees that don't develop that culture, they're seeing 1 to 5 months turnover. And so they're having to constantly retrain these folks. They're spending so much time turning their wheels. So a lot of the top franchisees, they do something monthly. One just did a paintball outing for his guys. I know that, it's just little things like that. Our number 1 franchisee, he does what Paul was saying, the Listen 360. Their texts are specifically saying, hey, by the way, you're going to get a survey at the end of this, and my name is so-and-so. If there's anything else I can do for you, let me know. And, in this survey, this franchisee highlights the names of the technicians that were given a 10 out of 10 or a 5 out of 5 on a Google. And every month they're giving a $50 gift card to dinner. Just little things like that is, giving back to the employees, that is building the culture. Now, this also franchisee has an office that has free Netflix for his guys. It's little things like that they come into work or stay after a little bit, so just really building that culture. But, you know, when someone has 5 to 7 years of the same technician, you know, there's a reason why they're staying. There really is. So developing that culture, he makes it responsible to every morning from 7 to 7:30. Not that he wants to, but just goes into where the technicians hang out and just talk to them. Hey, how was your day? You know, how was your night? How's your family? And he says the little wins like that go a long way and really keeps his staff wanting to come back. And, you know, instead of calling in sick or you know, not showing up, you know, they really, he's gamifying it essentially, if you will. So just taking a part of being active in their lives and not just, you know, hey, I'm your boss.
Yeah, that's cool. You know, one of our franchisees, they're big on the Listen 360 surveys, and they give out $20 if you get a 9 or a 10 and your name is mentioned in the survey. And so I did a site visit a couple months ago, and it was on one of the days they do a company meeting every 2 weeks. And one of the guys there got 8 $20 bills. He had 8 surveys that came back that had his name mentioned that were a 9 or a 10. And so there was something very compelling about this handing people $20. And, you know, just, you know, the ops manager's got a big wad of cash that he starts the meeting with. And, you know, so it's kind of fun. And then they'll ask people, like, you know, how did you do it? Or they'll say, look, this is a guy that you might want to pair up with to find out, like, what are the things that this person's doing, you know, to kind of make a difference. So they kind of build some of that up.
I'll throw one thing out here that we started to do. And JB is kind of heading it, is the Customer Excellence Award, that we're actually taking the reviews from the entire system and turning it into nominations that we as the team, the FBCs, we get to vote on and choose which ones we think are deserving. And as long as that tech has is still with the company, we're recognizing them with a certificate. We recognize 2 techs and 2 owners, or 3 techs actually, at convention. And each one got a $500 DeWalt set that was donated by DeWalt. So we were able to do that. But we've kind of pushed it from the top level. And our owners, most of them already care about the NPS scores. But those who don't, we've now given them an incentive to, hey, if your guys can achieve this, right, they can be coming. And when the guys in those places that are doing 60s or 70s, when they come back with a 92 and a great review, and something from corporate, it kind of reinforces that to the other techs even more. So you may want to talk up to your VPs and see if that's something. They can certainly, you know, reach out to Kevin or to JB and talk to them about it. We've seen positive results from it.
That's pretty cool. Now, those are all great suggestions. Well, cool. We're coming up close to the end of the hour, so I've got some other things that I'd like to just sort of hold off until, because I see this as being just an open conversation about these topics. So I guess the other thing that I was going to share, so I was going to send out a meeting invite for October 30th as our next meeting. And then, do we want to continue this conversation on onboarding, or is there another topic that that anybody would like to throw out that we could kind of have as that training topic for the next call? And you can email me ideas if you have, if you don't think of it now. What's that now?
I recall a meeting or two ago, early in summer. Shame on me for forgetting it, but we were talking about utilizing possibly some folks in Waco there in terms of people services to help us do. Didn't we cover a little bit on the orientation or?
So yeah, we had Marissa Davenport joined us for one of the meetings. I'm embarrassed to say I can't remember the topic. It was another. I think it was more about the interview process. And I can definitely invite her or somebody from People Services to, you know, because any of these topics, I mean, you know, what was nice is having a perspective that isn't kind of like our role. We're all about the franchisees, but having somebody that's from a, you know, from more of a People Services perspective. So I just kind of honestly forgot to invite her to this call. So yeah, I can do that on the next one. So And we can, yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm interrupting you there. Go ahead, Eric.
No, I was just going to say, I mean, we can continue this type of conversation on onboarding. But like I said, if there's another topic or something like that that we want to do, if somebody has something they're passionate about, they want to lead a conversation around, that's fine. Okay, what was your comment, Dee?
Oh, I just, I recall that during that meeting when we were talking, it was about the interviewing and because different laws come into play and, obviously appropriateness. That's why we wanted to, I believe, get an expert, from people services involved. And it sounds like you did. I may have missed that meeting. I apologize. On this topic of, whether we want to call it onboarding or orientation or whatever we want to, assign to that. Does people, again, we've got a wealth of knowledge there in Waco that might be able, they might have a tool that's nobody's asked them for, that's just sitting in their hard drive somewhere.
Okay. Well, yeah, if like I said, if we can just kind of plan on that will be part of the training. I'll again have a follow up on anything from Mary and Craig and Mark about Bullish or anything else we got going on. I think that's going to be more the marketing thing that they're doing for positions. Probably catch up with our goals or things like that for the year. But I like the kind of the way we've modified our format to really focus on some richer conversations. So, as long as this is still working for everybody, I like the way we're doing it. If anybody has any other ideas, anything we can include or do, I want to make sure these calls are valuable for you. So, so we'll plan on just continuing this conversation. And if you think of other things, just email me and, we can be flexible. But I'll upload the recording and then get the link. And then when the link is uploaded to YouTube, I'll send out the link, the articles that I used for some of this. I'll send out, I think I just went ahead and forwarded you guys the email from Mara. And then I'll include what Jeff sent to us as well with the Handyman Way. I did put these on the public drive, so those are there too. But I'll just try to include all of this stuff in one email to you guys, so you'll at least have all that stuff, all these handouts and stuff as a resource. And there, yeah, we'll go from there. So unless there's anything else, we'll go ahead and wrap up for the day, and I'll send you out a calendar invite for October 30th.
Perfect. Thank you.
Great. Thank you.
All right. You guys have a good week.
You too.
Take care. See ya.